The Unfiltered by Jade.
Jade.
Welcome to the Unfiltered by Jade, where we get out of the box and dive into topics that are sidelined. I look forward to entertain, educate, and inspire. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, donate, and make everybody know about this.
Beats by RB Records.
Shopping assistance, your style, your budget. Our services include online and local shopping for individuals and businesses, personal shopping, purchasing of company and office supplies, importing and exporting small packages across Jamaica and worldwide, and helping you find unique gifts and items for all events and occasions. Contact us at 876-919-5195 or shoppingassistance2015@gmail.com. Shopping Assistance, your style, your budget.
Welcome back to the Unfiltered by Jade. Today we have with us here Kishaunna Johnson. And we are here to speak about her book, which is Why I Never Failed an Interview. That's an important thing that I guess we need to zone into, because I want to know why she has never failed an interview. And we are going to speak about our Women Geared to Do ministry. So those are two topics that falls under her belt. And for her, she's a personal branding and lifestyle transformational coach, author, speaker, entrepreneur, designer, CEO, and there's so much more, but it can't all in my book. So we are just going to go with those for now. So, hi, Kish, how are you?
Hi, Jade. I am doing well. I'm so happy to be here.
So happy to have you.
And how are you?
I am doing great. I'm speaking to you, so I'm doing great.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
So first, we are going to talk about you being an author.
Yeah.
So let's tap into your book, Why I Never Failed an Interview. Can you tell us what your book is about?
Right. My book is a question that I asked myself coming off an interview that I was pretty sure I wasn't going to be awarded a position in this company, because when I showed up, it looked like a job fair. And I was fresh out of training, did not have experience. So I know I interview well, but I was sure these people are opening a state-of-the-art facility for early childhood in the state of Delaware, AstraZeneca Child Care Center. And it was just on the news. And so people were crazy that that's where they want to go to work. So all these early childhood teachers with their degrees and multiple years of experience. I had only been in a daycare a couple months prior to completing my certification. So I went through, even the teachers had to be helping because of the overwhelming applicants. And I remember the next day being called back for a second interview. And I thought, okay, wow. And then the next day I was called in, and this time they wanted me to meet with personnel. They let me know they had about 1,500 applications.
Mercy.
And I was selected to choose a classroom.
What?
Now at this point, I'm walking home like, how did I do that? How did I beat so many people and get this position? And I do realize from the expressions of my interviewers, usually they seem very pleased with me. And most times I get hired on the spot, or I do get the jobs that so I had to ask myself this question: why do you never fail interviews? And that is when I sat down to write my techniques, my skill set, how I answer questions. And it really starts from making that impression on my personal that I am the woman for the job, pretty much. I know how to talk the talk and let them hear exactly what they need, because you have to really put yourself in their shoe. Most people don't understand that. So you go into a company, they are really trying to hire the right person. So you just have to be the right person.
So you have to be
whatever
the right
you
person
you have to be
hired.
it, even if you're not in reality. You're gonna go in there,
of course,
right? Yeah. So I just do that. I go in there and I see it as my audition for the star position.
Of
So
course.
this role that I need, and I'm gonna compete with everybody else, and they're going to pick me. So that's usually my mindset going in, and it works. So my book has all of my tips and tricks, my advice, and so forth. So when I go on my teaching, coaching, and workshops, I also demonstrate that killer first impression that will make them say, there was just something about her that's unforgettable. Because that's what you want to be. You want to be unforgettable.
And you have to show confidence with.
It comes with a lot of confidence. You're right. Yeah. So I love my book cover. My book cover has a group of candidates sitting across from me, shaking hands with the interview personnel, meaning that I just got the job. And they're saying to each other, oh no, she nailed it, not fair. Because of the level or the stellar performance that I give in a job interview, it would seem as if it's almost not fair to the other candidates. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I've asked the interviewers after getting the job, I said, what was the most impressionable thing? Why did you choose me? And based on their feedback is why I have this confidence that I won't fail interviews. They're like, oh, you were perfect for the position. I mean, we didn't have to ask you 2 more questions. From the very first question, you had us. You did your research, your background, you knew exactly what we were looking for. So it left me to really think, how are people preparing themselves for these interviews? Because if that's what it took for me to get the job, then obviously people aren't doing enough work to get exactly.
So you speak about the background. So you have to know about the company that you are going into. You can't just see something and just go and shop and think you can take it off your head.
Correct. Yes.
You have to answer tough and strange questions.
Strange.
What are can you give us a 2 or so of the strangest questions that you have ever gotten in an interview?
Jay, listen, I'm so glad you went there because I have a whole chapter in my book on strange questions. A whole chapter. These will here's one, for instance. What is the color of money?
What?
Yeah. This was asked.
That,
I even put the names of the companies that asked these crazy questions.
What is the color of money?
Yeah, American Heart Association asked their clients this question. And what they're really trying to ascertain from you is not so much a correct answer, but how you answer the question. That brings out certain skills they're looking for. So the strange questions are very important to passing a job interview. So to answer something, first of all, did you know that money has no color?
First of all, I did not know that.
You see, because Jamaica, we have some gray and green looking money and some very colorful ones, right? Here in America, there is some very blue, and in England, we have orange. So every country has money in different colors.
Right.
But now you go in the...
If it is that they're asking that question, though, wouldn't you pertain it to American currency?
No, because then if you do that, you're showing a skill set, like you're not aware of what's happening in the rest of the world.
Okay, fine.
You see what I'm saying there? So they're looking to see what kind of person are you that they're putting. Are you just, to the point, you don't read between the lines, you don't have any skills of conscientious thinking. So you really want to let them know, well, it depends on which country money you're looking at. And then I would put something humorous in there, such as my favorite ones are the blue ones, because that's usually higher in zeros at the end.
Okay.
So now the way in which you answer the strange questions is what matters. Yep. A stranger one is, why are manhole covers round?
Oh, jeez, jeez.
These would knock you out because imagine going into an interview and this is what they want to find out, right? Like, what does that have to do with the position?
Exactly.
The job? Yep.
That's
And
crazy.
yeah, if you go on websites like Quora.com and a few others, they try to help people with these strange questions because they're very popular. You know, this is a question by Microsoft.
First of all, I've never been in an interview and they ask those questions before.
Oh, well, that's great.
Never been in an interview and they ask. So that is strange to me.
Yeah. But they've the standards on interviewing I spoke to an HR person today, and he said, listen, if they can breathe and put two sentences together, they're hired.
Mercy.
What's happening is that the job force is scarce. People are no longer trying to find jobs.
Yeah.
Everybody's hiring, cannot find candidates. I was in Burlington yesterday for almost an hour in a line. They do not have enough staff. So we realized that there is a shift from employment, which is why now I'm writing a new book on entrepreneurship.
That's right.
You know, so pretty much whatever you want. My work is to get people to be their most extraordinary self. Whether for a job interview or if you're going into business, the legal way, how you prepare yourself for grand opportunities of your life. That is what most of my writing and my coaching skills are about.
Nice. Another question, even regarding the interview. How do you prepare for psychological questions in an interview?
For psychological questions, you first have to know yourself. You have to know your weaknesses and your strengths because they want to know those things about you. And a first impression is formed within the first 2 seconds of meeting someone.
Yes.
And so having that knowledge, you're going to present your best self right from the start. And you're going to be prepared. I write this, be prepared for anything. Do not seem rattled. If you don't know, I don't know, but I'm willing to find out. I have a curious mind. But you're going in your interview knowing that they're getting into your psychic, and what you're trying to do is get into their psyche as well. So it's a two-way thing. You're trying to figure out, who is this person that's interviewing me? What kind of personality does he or she have? And what does she want from me? And to know this comes with your research. So I even try to find out who is interviewing me in a company before I go. I have their name. I have how long they're with the company, how many people they hire. This is how extensive a research needs to be. You know, what kind of person, that culture does this company have? So I can be that person in my job interview. So that's how you prepare psychologically, doing your not just homework, but your good homework. And also not be rattled by anything, just prepare for anything going in.
And don't bother going to interview and tell everybody all your weaknesses that you have.
No, and there's a way to implicate yourself by sharing your weaknesses.
Oh, yes. So when people even sometimes ask about your weaknesses, you can turn it into your strengths. Exactly.
That's clever. And that's exactly how I've put a lot of ways in which you can use your weaknesses as strengths. You know, I write questions that some of my friends were asked in an interview, and someone was saying that she was impatient. She told the interviewer that. And the way in which she answered the question was, she believes in efficiency. That was just so key.
Yes,
that was powerful.
That was good.
Yes.
That was good. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it sounds like a good book. And it sounds like it's something that people can benefit from, actually.
Yes,
especially with some of the meticulous details that you have, because as I said, there are some things that I'm seeing that I didn't know about until speaking to you about it. Yes. So I think persons don't take as much time to research where they're going.
Yes.
We look at the basic things. We just want to know the basic things, and then we don't want to know how much money we're getting. It's really it.
Yeah. And it's I've never had someone who was coached by me for a job interview or who read this book going into an interview who didn't call me back and said, I got it. But what I love about their excitement when they call me is that they loved me. They thought I was so impressionable. They were impressed with me, because it's one thing to be awarded a position based on your qualification, but when you even exceed a person's expectation, which is how I prepare you, it gives volume. They're already thinking about you for promotion, kind of a thing. So this is how we want people to just be outstanding. And I'm not tooting my horn, but the book is doing well enough.
No, man, toot your horn.
I'm not very good at promoting myself.
Toot your horn, it's good.
Yeah, but do you need to walk with this to your job interview? You need to have, and what I've done now, it's not just a paperback. The book is in 3 great formats. You can read it by just walking with the book in hand, or you can download a PDF on your mobile device.
Nice.
And now we're heading over to Audible.
You're going with things, man.
So you're listening to it. And I would say I kind of prefer this version because it feels like someone is teaching you, like preaching into your ears. So it goes straight into your long-term memory. It's just beautiful, a beautiful experience listening to, the skills and the instructions, and it's in a narrative form too. So it's not a boring kind of job interview book. It's lots of stories to share, what really happens on an interview. There was one girl who, and I mentioned her story. She went to this job interview and was sitting down for almost 2 hours in that place. Everybody who came for the interview left except her. When they left, she was called in a room and only to hear, congratulations, you were just awarded the job.
Yeah, man.
No interview. This was the test of elimination. Can you believe this is why I'm saying go in there expecting anything, because they will stage a whole performance just to choose the right candidate.
I don't know how to feel about that though, Kish.
Yes, it happens.
But I can see that happening.
Especially if you're a company who has a lot to lose. Hiring someone is very costly for a company. You're talking about uniforms and training and pulling somebody else off their job to train you. And, money is going into this. So they don't want to waste money on the wrong people.
I get it and I understand it, but it is people's time too, though.
Yeah, that was hard.
On the flip side, it's people's time, but I get it. Sometimes, you have to use strange ways to test people. To see if they're willing to stand the test and if they really want the job.
Right, because these are high pressure working environments that usually do the stress interview formats. So you really need to show that how you are able to manage yourself in a high stress environment, or that's just not the job for you.
I get that. So this book, guys, it will give you the ammunition needed to be the most outstanding candidate. It will show you how to captivate your interviewer with your words.
Oh, yes.
And it will explain how the psychology of persuasion and appeal will set you apart. So there's other things that this book will give you, and you will learn from it, and you will go into your interviews more confident. And with the interviews, I'm just going to add, please let your resumes reflect how you're going to talk in the interview.
Oh, yes. Don't lie on your resume.
Wow. Oh, my goodness.
Excellent points.
Because sometimes our resumes are so good and we go in and we don't know jack. We don't know how to talk about things. We don't know anything. So when it's contradictory like that, you're like, okay. You know, so we don't want to do that.
You already failed right there.
Right, they already failed, and they know. They already know.
They do, yes.
So that's important. So that's a great book. So I'm going to encourage people to go get it. We're not at the end of the podcast, but I'm going to encourage people to go on Amazon and get it and read it and give it to your friend. It can be given as gifts, birthday gifts, everything. Yeah.
The book is also available on my website, which we can share at the end in the other formats that I mentioned earlier.
All right, Kish. So we have spoken about the book. We're now going to jump into and speak also about our women geared to ministry, because that's also a part of your passion.
Yes.
Nice. So, is it more difficult for women in ministry than men?
The answer is yes.
How so?
It absolutely is. Because see, women, we are fighting against some age-old systems.
Oh God.
Doctrinal teachings, all kinds of scripture misused and believed to be accurate in forming the basis on which women are being judged as ministers. And most people know of the scripture in Ephesians, where women in Corinth were told by Paul that they should keep silent and that they should be, submissive to the men. And there's also a particular scripture about covering. And so covering has moved from being a person to actually being headgear, and so many different ways in which women are being told what to do in ministry, totally controlled to the point where there's a belief system that no women are supposed to be preachers.
Can you imagine?
Yeah. These are people who read the Bible in isolation, Jade.
And and can you imagine that we still have churches where the women and men can't sit together? Women have to sit separately from the men.
Yes, that is a very awful, an awful reality that we're living with, and I cannot justify that.
And some women still can't go on the platform.
Yes, now you can't even stand at a certain place within this particular building. These four walls here restricts where your position.
And these were told to people in the current, not us now, What before I even start, do women have to give up more?
You certainly have to. You're giving up a lot more of your mind, your mental well-being, because you're already fighting against traditions. So if now you've been awarded the position, or not sure if award is the right word, but you have now been ordained to a position in a church that does not believe that women aren't allowed to be ministers. But where are you going? Who will invite you? Because now we have two essential points that are working against women that are of primary concern. One has to do with whether or not you're able to preach, which is the traditional views.
Mm-hmm.
And the other is your appearance. Because now women are not supposed to dress a certain way if they're in ministry. So you have been ordained, but now you have to be worrying, when I'm preaching, are people receiving me because of the way I look? Are people receiving me at all because they don't even believe I'm supposed to be doing what I'm doing? The men don't have to worry about that. That's not a concern. Their concern is, okay, this is the topic, I'm coming to preach. And they just put on a pants and a shirt. My husband normally answers, so what are you going to wear? Just a pants and a shirt for under the closet. How specific is that? But that's life for them. But for us, it's okay. I can wear a dress, but what kind of dress? How long is this dress? Is this dress an A-line, or is this dress flared? It's so many different things about just the dress. Is it sleeveless or sleeved?
Is your head gonna be covered?
And then we have to talk about head. We're right.
Is your head
And
gonna
then
be
we have to
covered?
worry about shoes.
Oh yes, you can't wear anything too high because if it show your figure up when you're wearing it too high, I know because the high heels sometimes show up the figure. Are you gonna be wearing something like that because the men are gonna be distracted? No, the men need to learn self-control. How about that? So we have all of that dealing with, and we also have to give up a lot.
Yes.
Especially when it is that they don't agree with a woman being the head, especially the head of a church. Does the home suffer?
The home suffers because while a man is considered, even in the word of God, to be the head of the house, and we know there are several homes that do not have a man. So the woman now has to assume the role. But even in a home where a man is the head, the woman is the manager. And we know this, that managers sometimes have more responsibility than even the head of a company or an organization. Sometimes you very seldom see the big boss.
Listen to me, man.
The managers have to get down and clean the floor at times. And deal with everybody. So just look at all that a woman has to do. And now she's going to add on a position of being a minister in a church.
Yeah, so the home is going to suffer.
The home is suffering. Is relative to the person. Your home does not need to suffer. If you are accepting a role as a minister, then you also have to embrace the responsibilities that comes with it and prepare yourself to create a balance in all of your roles. So you prepare your children, you prepare your husband, and you also have to let your church know, I'm a mother and I'm a wife. These are the roles, and you have to, as a woman, play them well so no one suffers. And women are very good at this, actually. I believe that a home will suffer more from this. They might come at me for this, but there are several homes who are suffering more from a man being in ministry than a woman being in ministry.
So I'm gonna agree with you halfway.
Okay.
Both of my parents were ministers.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm gonna agree halfway with that. So with a woman, I think it affects the home.
Okay.
With a man, it affects the home. I think
right. So we agree there.
We agree there. It does affect the home with both. I think where it comes to the nitty-gritty is because normally, not all the time, or let me speak for myself, I wasn't totally in acceptance of it. You'd hardly see parents because the ministry is the first calling. People always calling. So whether we like it or not, sometimes our kids are not going to be happy about the situation at all. Sometimes even if it is just the woman is the head, she's in the ministry and the man isn't, sometimes they're not really accepting of it either. They may just go along with it because they know that's what you want to do, but are they happy about it? No. Does it mean that they're going to have to pick up more at home? Sometimes it does mean that. Are they happy about that? Not necessarily. So there's sometimes still going to be some sort of conflict in the home.
There will, yeah.
And especially because, and I know some people may not agree with me, some people may. Sometimes women take I'm going to say both of them, but a woman sometimes doesn't put down that ministry hat as a leader when she gets home. So just like how she runs church, she runs the home. Which I've heard men say, you can't lead the home, I'm the head of the home. At the beginning of our conversation, you did say that a woman does a lot in the home.
Yes.
The man is the leader or the head, but the woman does a lot in the home. Sometimes the woman does more than what the man does.
Right. As the manager, right.
That is the truth. That is just what it is. So sometimes when it is that see the woman come home and she's quote unquote acting like the head of the home, that also causes a problem sometimes with some men.
Absolutely. Yes.
So with also the man on the flip side, he yes is the head of the church, etc. But when he comes home also, he still wants to play that role. Although he is the head of the home, or should be. Some people believe that, some people don't believe that. But also he tend to sometimes want to behave still as if he's at church.
Right.
And the woman doesn't have to say, as you said earlier also, we're still told sometimes the woman needs to be quiet. So that's still how some men treat the woman at home.
Right.
So on both sides, we're having problems. But normally I've heard men say, well, if the woman is going to be in the position as a pastor, etc., the home is going to suffer. And that's just it. There's no, how do we make it better? Nothing at all.
Well, we make it better with education. And much of what happened, even I cannot interject this view on your experience that you shared earlier.
Right.
But we know that we were once taught that the church or the ministry is your first priority.
Oh, God.
But that is actually a wrong teaching.
It is a wrong teaching. Actually, your family is.
Right. And this is why I say the home should not suffer from a woman being in ministry, neither from a man being in ministry. But because of how men are, they're mostly just so focused. I believe it was Bishop Noel Jones. He always says this. His marriage was destroyed because of his work as a minister.
But many of them are because of that same thing.
Yes. But now what they're being taught in seminary and they're being taught in Bible college, even in the churches, we're now starting to teach people that, listen, no, your home, your wife, that's your first ministry. That's your first priority. If home is not okay, don't expect to come to make church okay. And we do not want leaders who don't have a home that is intact. A home without a proper balance is going to reflect in the ministry.
Do people care though?
They should. Most times they don't, because again, they're coming from the old teaching.
Right. And a lot of times the church members are expecting the pastor to be there all the time.
Right.
So if the pastor is saying, no, I have to spend time with my family, well, you don't care about your flock. You don't care about your sheep.
Yeah. It's sad, but we have to change the narrative going forward. My husband and I, we're young in ministry, and it's our children who are the first priority. We're not sleeping. We're not allowing our kids to sleep while we are in church. And if they're tired and they can't keep up, we're going to let them sleep. And maybe one of us will have to stay home. Because again, home does not need to suffer.
That's right. That is right. I wish so many other persons could understand that fact.
Right.
What do women bring to the ministry that their counterparts don't?
Oh, wow. I'm so glad that you asked that question, because I love how God created us, male and female. We balance each other out. Right? We're taken from a place in man that is very close to his heart, his rib. And so we're able to connect with a man's heart in a way that God knows the man was not going to connect with himself and with others. So we're on the softer side. We have empathy. We have a higher percentage of empathy than a man will ever be able to muster up.
Right.
And the reason for that, God knew he needed balance. So if God himself set up creation with balance, why can't we have balance in the church or in ministry? So now, instead of a man seeing a woman as a problem and a hindrance to his ministry, he now can see her as an enhancement, because what a woman brings to a ministry is a softer side.
Yes.
And sometimes they're harsher because their husband is not firm enough. So the balance is just, you definitely need to rely on your wife's viewpoint, her perspective, to help you to run the church.
Yes.
Not to override you, help you. to run the church, because that empathy, knowing what families go through, knowing how women feel, and knowing how a man feels when their woman is not in the right, perspective. Because if you are a minister and your wife believes that you shouldn't be, your ministry is greatly affected. But now the wife can come in that counseling session and say, well, maybe it's because the wife is fearful that she's going to lose him. That's why she doesn't want to let him go.
That's right.
And then your husband can say, now he knows how to counsel not just the man, but both the husband and the wife, and say, okay, learn balance, learn who is priority first before I even ordain you. Because I cannot ordain you if your wife is not okay.
True. Very true.
So we need the women. There's no way of building anything foundationally strong without the viewpoint or the perspective of a female.
Very true.
Whether it be, I don't care what is the organization or the structure in our society, we model from God. If he thought that a man needed a woman, then in every part of our society, every institution needs a woman. I felt that one way down in my soul.
Yes, man. Yes, man.
Thank God we have the first female vice president. And she has all kinds of odds against her. Not many people weren't even going to give Hillary Clinton a chance.
Not even a chance.
They weren't even going to give her a chance. But without Michelle Obama, we wouldn't have seen and experienced that kind of Barack Obama.
Mercy.
That to me was one of the best examples that we have in the world space, to see a man and a woman work together so much in leadership.
Yes.
Creating the right balance. They didn't miss anything with their kids. It looked really good to see that example.
Or what can be done to create and facilitate more support for a woman.
Oh, that sounds good. Where I'm thinking, it sounds really nice. It's going to be hard to create this, but I think it starts from women supporting women.
Not good. Miss, first of all.
Were you thinking the same thing?
First of all, I was thinking the same thing, but I said to myself, I don't know when that's going to happen.
No. Tell me about it. It's hard. That's why I started off by saying it's going to be very hard, because we cannot depend on the men to give us the kind of support that we need as women. Only women know what another woman needs. And one of the most hurtful things I heard from a very mature woman, while I am there thinking about my calling in ministry, this woman turned to me and said she would never sit down and listen to a woman preach.
I've heard that before.
Would never. A woman saying this.
I've heard it before. In fact, I hear women say they'll never support women doing certain things in leadership.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
That's our problem right there. That is what it is. Brainwashed. That's what's happening to them. Stuck in the ignorance of the past, and unfortunately they're just going to die like that. They're going to their grave with that mindset. That's how serious it is for them to make a change. And that's why my job as a transformational coach is so important, because it's very hard because you're working against mindsets, and
that's I don't know.
It's hard.
The sad part is men support men, But the woman, mercy God.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. It's so much competition between women. It's so much. I don't know.
Yeah. So, but that's where we start, though. If we could find an appropriate place to begin, to have a better way of facilitating and fixing the problem, we have to start with each other. Women, we have to.
You hear that, woman? We need to start with each other. Let's support each other.
Yes,
it's imperative that we do so that we can build each other. Please, mercy God. So, Kish, tell us where we can find you.
on all the social media platforms, and I've made it very easy now. Jade, I'm just going by my name. Just my full name. I've tried different things. The name of my business, Destiny, is my other name, and so some people call me that. But I realize now we just want the message of branding.
Right.
Now that I'm helping so many people with personal branding, I'm realizing that you just need to brand your name, brand yourself. I mean, Beyonce, everybody knows her. That's just her name. That's who she is. That's how she appears everywhere. You know, the days of Salt and Pepper is gone. Days of Destiny's Child is gone. Because those entities, they do not stand or last, because sometimes it's somebody else's, and somebody else's group. Somebody else has that name chosen, but there's only one you.
Yeah, definitely.
So we're going to have to take personal branding as seriously as Ralph Lauren did.
Oh yeah.
And as what's your favorite? Give me one of your brands there. Kate Spade.
Kate Spade. Let's not go there.
They just use their name.
Listen, Rihanna uses her own name.
Martha Stewart. Oprah. She's just Oprah, and everything she does is Oprah Winfrey Network. It's Oprah. It's the name of her production company. Shonda Rhimes Films. Once you see
Shonda Rhimes, it's Shonda Rhimes,
right? So I've decided that if we're really going to take personal branding seriously, we just need to appear as ourselves. So on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, you will find me as Kishaunna with the very unnecessary letters in my name my mom put there. I promise you, it's actually easier than it looks. Don't let the U throw you off. The other N is unnecessary. It's a Caribbean thing.
Oh my goodness, you're really gonna do that?
I mean, how do you pronounce double N?
No. No. It's it's a style. It's style.
I don't know if there's any other way to pronounce double N than just N. So guys, it's Kishaunna. All right, take it up with my mom. It's 9 letters. It's unnecessary, I know.
Oh my goodness. Right. So we can look you up on all social media platforms.
Yes, Kishaunna Johnson. That's it.
Nice. It was good talking to you both about your book and about even women and ministry.
Yes, ma'am. These are my passion. I founded the Extraordinary Women's Ministry Group in 2019 by a simple instruction. Simple instruction I heard in my ears and it's in my spirit. I know that familiar voice. It was one of those surprise announcements that you hear from heaven. Literally, I just heard 12 women, 12 midnight in prayer. I'm like, wait a minute, let me fix my rear view mirror to see if somebody's in the back of this car talking to me or what. 12 women to pray 12 midnight? What's this? I don't even know 12 women who would be willing to pray. I did not. So you know what I did, Jade? I just went on Facebook. I said, I just heard God. Can 12 women join me in prayer tonight at midnight? And I'm telling you, and I said, I'm number one.
That's right.
In maybe about 10 minutes later, I went back to check the post. My phone was blowing up.
Nice.
There were people on WhatsApp. I'm number 2. There were people on Facebook. I had like 3 number 2s. I had by 8 o'clock that night, 24 women.
Nice.
Just answered to that call immediately. And that's how we founded that first prayer group that prays at midnight, the Extraordinary Extraordinary Women in Ministry. And it's been going well so far. It's a Facebook group, private group. You can find us there. What we're about, the Lord says one thing, it's time to stop being ordinary.
Yes.
And that's what really, formed the work that I do. My standard now is extraordinary, because we can all just do things in any normal way, ordinarily.
Right.
But the standard of God is extra. And I'm extra. I'm very extra, Jade. Without apology. Everything about me. Why are you dressed like that? So why do you have to do that? Because I'm extra, right?
No
apologies. So it was very fitting. It is very fitting for me.
Nice. I love that. And I love your passion.
Thank you. Because women, and what the group is really about is exactly what we talked about earlier, just supporting other women in ministry, encouraging women to answer the call, not shying away and running away from your gifting. If you're
Right.
called to speak, you need to speak, because at the end of the day, you are going to have to answer to God.
Right. Not anybody else. You are.
Mhm.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much again, Kish. I
Oh, you're
appreciate it.
welcome. Thank you. It was my delight, Jade.
Yes, and I enjoyed the conversation. I really did.
Same here.
And thank you all there, listeners, for listening to the Unfiltered by Jade. And we'll be back next week, Tuesday. Thank you very much.
Bam bam bide, bam bam bide, badu bidi, bam bam bide, bam bam bide.